Right now in the 7th inning, the Braves are leading the Mets 3-0. You win one, you're in. You win two, the other team is not in, and the Diamondbacks are in. It's that simple. So right now, the Mets are losing 3-0. That game could be heard on 880 ESPN. That's why we are today on 1050, and of course on the ESPN app and on the Yes Network as well. Guys, how you doing? Nail-biting time for Met fans.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, though, Michael, because of the second game of the doubleheader. That's why McGill started game one, because everything changes with the loss. Atlanta clinches. They're probably going to pull Sale because they want him for game one of their wild card series, so they go to an opener, which makes it that much easier to win game two. So a little bit is the pressure off because of that, or does it add to the pressure because you're literally facing elimination in a must-win situation? So I'm not as desperate as I would be if this were the only game, and knowing how Atlanta will be compromised because they would have already clinched with a win in game one makes me a little less worried. A little less.
Well, I mean, what happened yesterday, Don, is what you're hoping would happen in game two. This game's not over yet, but, 3-0, and the Mets haven't been hitting that well. But yesterday, the Brewers didn't have anything to play for, so they ended up losing 5-0. And that put the Mets in this situation, and the Diamondbacks ended up winning because the Padres didn't have anything to play for. The only variable in this that I would worry about if I'm the Mets, Don, you know that the Atlanta Braves would love to end the Mets season. Love to. And since it's only a 28-man roster, it's not like you could just play the scrubs.
Right.
It's got to be some people that are going to play that are good players, and the pitching is what scares you. It's going to be a bullpen game because they're not going to start Sale.
Right.
They save him for game one, and that's the huge thing. And you don't want to blow out these starters or these relievers either, Don. He's got a game tomorrow.
No, without question. I mean, that's the big deal because, like, you hit it. Like, the Brewers didn't care. Mets won 5-0. Padres didn't care. They got blasted by the Diamondbacks because they've got games on Tuesday to prepare for. But they also didn't need the games in the first two games of the series, and both San Diego and the Milwaukee won those games. But the difference is Atlanta's going to be completely focused on tomorrow. No Sale. They'll rest who they can, as much as they'd love to stick it to the Mets. And I'm not saying the players on the field aren't going to try, but they've got a game that is going to be in less than what's it? They're going to go to San Diego. They might go to
7th.
They might go to San Diego, which will be a 5:30 local start. If it's Milwaukee, it's going to be a 5:30 East Coast start. I guess what would that be? 4:30 in Milwaukee. That's less than 24 hours. So I don't think they're going to kill themselves, Michael. But still, you're going to face the pressure of knowing that it is a literal must-win situation for the Mets. Zero margin for error. But at least you will have a Braves team that's not going to need the game. So I guess that's the benefit of having the loss here. Get Sale out of the equation.
Well, and
right,
now
so
the next game becomes a playoff game. So this one was not done, right? Like, this is your last game. You don't consider a playoff. But starting the second this game ends, the playoffs begin.
Well, that's why McGill started game one and Severino's going in game two. They wanted that insurance policy of knowing that there was a margin for error that no longer exists after the loss today.
And the Braves had that margin of error. If Schnellenbach has pitched very well, that's 2 times in a row against the Mets. He also pitched a real good game against the Yankees, so he has really helped save their season with all of the injuries they've had. And if they could start Sale in the first game of a wild card series, Sale's been unhittable. I'm telling you, they're in good shape. For a team that's staggered in, the Braves would be in good shape in the postseason if they start Chris Sale in game one. So that's why this game was so important to them. Now, we'll get into all the specifics and the minutia once this game is over, because we know a lot of Met fans right now are actually listening to 880 or watching the game on SNY. Get it? Totally understand. Starling Marte gets a single through the left side, so it's first and third for the Mets and nobody out. And it's 3-1 Braves, so the Braves have gone to the bullpen, and Marte hits one just into the hole between third and short, so the Mets are rallying right now.
Don, this is kind of a fascinating turn here in the 8th inning that I can't imagine you were expecting as we started thinking about game two here.
Well, getting to the bullpen, but they just could not get anything going offensively. Had a couple of runners on a couple of innings ago. Lindor got, I think, in the third inning, couldn't get the big hit, and now they're getting some hits. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Your MVP Lindor's coming up. I mean, the door's opening, guys. But I've got a job to do, and I'm going to do that job.
Professional.
I'm an absolute professional. If nothing else, not a good one, but I'm a professional.
Confirmed.
Well, and the only thing you have to do to be a professional is to get paid. You don't have to be good.
Well,
Great, that's also true.
well, I'm
but I think you're good.
paid professional. Peter disagrees. That's okay. I agree with Peter. I'm a hack. But you know what? I'm gonna do
It's like
my
a
best.
lottery that you got this gig.
Right. Oh.
I'm here in Houston, where tomorrow's game between the Astros and the Tigers, the surprising Tigers, that will be at 2:30 Eastern time on ABC. So I'm looking forward to broadcasting that. But I'm in the ballpark right now, and I got to tell you guys, it is searingly hot here in Houston. It's like 91, 92
Really?
degrees. It's just brutal. Yeah.
We
brutal.
got a fairly nice day today back here in New York after what was an awful weekend. As Lindor RBI single, it's now 3-2.
Oh, come on. Come on,
but it got a
Don.
little warm here.
First of all, you're ahead of me.
Not 91. But I figure you must be watching on the MLB network, right? You're in L.A.
I'm in LA watching on ESPN.
No,
actually.
look at that.
Yeah, ESPN.
And there's a base hit up the middle for
All right, so
base hit up the middle there for Lindor.
and Michael, what are you doing?
I'm in Houston, and it's on ESPN's broadcast is on the big screen in the right center
Okay.
field. So as I'm broadcasting, I'm looking up because I'm in the ESPN radio
I'm
booth.
insulted that you didn't think I knew you were in Houston, but I just want to know how you were consuming the Mets. So I guess we'll rely on me for updates since it looks like I'm ahead of both of you.
No, I think I saw the hit just as you said it too. So
Okay,
I'm right
good.
where you are.
All right.
Yeah, can we
let's
do
say
the
let's-
opposite?
Have you
What's
been
that?
the one?
Yeah,
just-
let
just-
Alaska
that was
take
for
it.
you.
No, because it's not about you. It's about our listeners. Our listeners want to be.
They don't know the difference of 10 seconds.
I know, but we're living in a moment here. You got a Met fan watching a game that could be a
Fine,
clinching
you know what?
opportunity.
You know what?
And I'm supposed to hold it in? I got to hold my water
No,
for you?
No, you're right. You know what? You made a good argument. You are the Mets fan. You deserve it, but I'll suck it up. And listen, with all due respect to our conversation here in betting, I don't want to give short shrift to what's happening, guys. This is the upside down. Don, we had sort of given up on this Mets game, and we're thinking about game
That's
2.
true.
It's now 3-3. This is insane.
This is
The
pretty.
Mets really make their fans go on emotional roller coasters.
They really do.
I can't believe.
We got a lot to do here. This just felt like a different team. It just did. And now they've got a chance here to break the tie on a sacrifice fly that's cut off, and the Mets now have taken a 4-3 lead. So 4 runs in the top of the 8th. I told you, and again, they could turn around and blow it in the 8th inning, and it's right back to square one again. But I told you, I just felt differently about this team, and they are showing a tremendous amount of gumption. If you were watching every pitch of this game, and I know Michael and Peter with their travels and everything else, this didn't feel like their day. They couldn't generate anything, and now they finally get to the bullpen and to put up a 4 spot in the top of the 8th inning against a team that wants to win the game is pretty special.
I mean, the ramifications for the Braves are just incredible. I mean, they're going to have to start Chris Sale. So the chances of winning in the NLDS is almost zero. The Mets just stole base. Iglesias just stole second.
Wow. Don, you definitely feel like
the Braves have to have Sale on the mound.
Don, you have to feel like as a Mets fan, you got to get one more here to feel good, don't you?
Well, no, of course, especially with a runner in scoring position in less than 2 outs, you want to try to get it whatever you can. But this is good stuff, man. They just felt like they were dead. You know it, Michael. When you're even calling a game, they just don't have it today. And knowing that they had a game coming up that might be in their favor with a compromised Braves team, you're thinking, all right, well, they're just going to gear up for the next game. But not this team, not this year.
Hey, it's game time brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, currently on 880. The game we're talking about, the Mets are facing the Braves with a trip to the playoffs on the line for both. Yankees are off. They'll be off until Saturday, game 1 of the ALDS then. That's game time brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended home run.
Are you kidding?
Let him finish. This is on Monday. This is how we get
go
paid.
ahead. I can.
Nimmo, 2-run home run.
What was it, Nimmo?
Yeah.
It was a long home run. The original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the brand new Tullamore Dew Honey during tonight's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. Brian Snitker looks like he just swallowed a bad egg. That was some blast.
He's got a hell of a pitcher.
And the bullpen for the Braves, wow.
He's got a hell of a pitcher waiting there to pitch the next game against the Mets team that might not care. So Braves are still in good shape.
No, but they're not. Not if they want to advance in the playoffs. They're not in good shape.
Well,
Kills that.
No, you're right. But I don't think you have the ability as a team to just start, try. One day you're not even sure you're making the playoffs, then you want to make sure you got your rotation set. So I agree with you that it's bad to lose this game, but they still have a chance to be able to make the playoffs. But it would have been nice for them to clinch and then have Sale for game one.
Listen, it's a regular day in sports, Don. The Washington Commanders are dominating the NFC East. The clutch Mets dropping 6 in the 8th. It's just regular old sports.
Dogs and cats living together.
Being eaten. The Braves scored 4 runs against Maton and Diaz. Carlos Mendoza made a very calculated risk bringing in Diaz here. And Diaz is kind of all over the place. Yeah. And now, if the Mets don't win this game, he can't pitch in game 2 and might not even be able to pitch tomorrow. And there's also another thing, Don, I wonder what you're thinking. Kelnick hit a hot shot down the first play by Pete, and Diaz didn't cover first base. That would have been the third out.
That would have been the third out. Still would have been a tough play. He started pounding his chest like, yeah, it's on me, it's on me. And then it all came apart from there. And then it begs the question, Michael, in a 5-0 game, why did Diaz pitch yesterday? Through 26 pitches, and now he's got to pitch a ton here. Obviously, I don't think he'll come out in the 9th inning after now, blowing the lead, but he just did not have it.
There might not be a 9th.
Yeah, Maton, yeah, right, exactly. Maton didn't have it either, but, the tying run comes to the plate. You want to go to your closer, who's been lights out this year, but with the 26 pitches yesterday in a non-save situation, yeah, and listen, you want to nail down yesterday, right? Because you got to do what you got to do. But, now they've certainly compromised here. Now, Maton's been great. You think he's going to be able to get through the 8th inning. But Diaz is going to still have to pitch, you would think, in the 9th, but not in a situation with runners at the corners and 1 out. And I guess it was first and second, 1 out. It just didn't get the job done.
How do you people?
I just gave it.
How do you people do it?
Listen.
How do you do it?
You get emotionally invested. It's never easy with this team. It's never easy, period. But God, this. You know what? You would have.
Well, the big hit was Ozzie Albies. Yeah, bases loaded double. That gave them a 7-6 lead.
And he fell behind. He walked the previous batter, and then he fell behind 2-0.
Yeah, he was all over the place. When there's pressure, he can't throw strikes.
Yeah, he just didn't have it at all. And a ton
Michael,
of pressure.
Can I jump in here? Can I just jump in? That's not a great quality.
No, not at all.
Not for a big spot.
No. I mean, when he works clean innings, he looks about as dominant as you could look. And then when it gets a little sweaty, then the ball goes all over the place. Now, there were some tough calls that he didn't get.
Right.
I mean, the borderline calls that looked like they were right there, borderline calls. He did not get strikes, and then he started to grip the baseball a little bit tighter. This would be just a devastating loss.
Yeah, and you know what, Michael?
If they lose game 2, it would be devastating.
Well, and here's the thing: is that if they had just gone quietly and lost the game 3-0. Okay, no big deal. You dust yourself off, you get ready for the next game, but the fact that they come back 6 runs in the 8th inning, take a 6-3 lead, you think the game's over, you think you're going to the playoffs and have it ripped from you. You just wonder emotionally, what are they going to have later today? Now, again, the good news, they won't be having to face Sale if they're unable to come back here, but still, just emotionally now having to go play a meaningful game when you thought you just had this amazing moment. And I was thinking during, when this was all happening, Michael, during SVP, the last time the Mets were playing a day game, they were getting no hit. They scored 6 runs and won the game. You're like, there's some sort of symmetry here. They score 6 runs in the 8th inning, and now it might all be for naught, and you wonder if they're going to be able to get off the mat from this. So 7-6, top of the 9th inning.
You know what's amazing? This is like such a pressure-packed game. So you would think your relievers would be really locked in. Both teams combined scored 10 runs in the 8th inning.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
10 runs.
Absolutely.
Wow. You know what? I don't have a dog in the fight, and I'm sitting here biting my nails, and I can't even imagine what Met fans are going through right now. I can't even imagine.
No, it's tough.
Because they're thinking House of Horrors, Atlanta, everything happens bad to us. And, we had an argument about this on Monday about do you believe in ghouls and goblins and stuff like that. But, you can't make this up.
Well, look at me, Mike. Well, go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry.
No, they found a way to make it worse, though, than would have been imaginable, Michael. The Mets thing to do would have just been to lose both games, or to, lose this game at least and make next game bad. But no. To get up, Don, not just get up 1 in the 8th, to get up 6-3, enough cushion that you really believe, and then potentially lose this game. And then emotionally, how do you come back in the next game?
Well, you're just going to have to. But what's so crazy is that I'm fighting it, right? I've been saying all along, not this team. This is a different team. And when they score the 6 runs, that fuels my opinion. Like, not this team. Look at they're spitting in the face of these ghosts, scoring 6 runs, and then they give it back up again. Like, what am I supposed to believe? Because if you want to say, well, Don, that's the pressure. They always cower against the Braves at a big spot. Well, how do you explain the 6 runs in the 8th then? Like, if that would, then just go quietly, lose 3-0, lose the second game, and be done. If it was a case of not being able to beat the Braves, then how do you explain the 6 runs you scored in the 8th inning? So you just wonder, is there just some predetermined thing out there that they can't not allowed to beat this team, as Marte gets a single, so at least they got the tying run on.
I'm thinking, too, the second game, I think, is going to start 40 minutes after the first.
Right.
I mean, starting pitchers have to prepare. I mean, so when they're down 6-3, is Chris Sale starting to get ready to pitch? Now, when they're up 6-4, when the Mets are up 6-3, I mean, is Severino completely locked down and say, okay, I'm not pitching? I mean, talk about, like, the ebb and flow of emotions, and the starting pitchers have to get ready. I mean, the guy who pitches that second game has to pitch well.
Right. So, listen,
the season's on the line.
I'm sure he still went through whatever his process is, because it's not over. But still, mentally, and is that a 2-run home run?
Are you kidding me?
And the Mets, as guess who? Francisco Lindor, 2-run home run, 8-7 Mets. I can't deal. What
is happening?
This is. Oh my! This is. You know what? Let's see Shohei Ohtani to hit a 2-run home run in a spot like that. He's got my vote. You got my vote, Francisco. Yeah, go 50 for 50 in a 10-2 game. Let's see. Yeah, but with your season on the line, Lindor 2-run home run. He got the whole thing started in the 8th inning too.
Are you kidding me?
So the game is on at Minute Maid Park on the big screen, right?
Right.
And the Astros are warming up at the outfield. It's just tossing the ball around. And they all stopped and looked up and just stared at what Lindor just did.
This is the regular season, guys. So that should count towards what he's been able to accomplish for this baseball team. Just unreal. You know what this is, guys? I don't know how much you watch.
All right, so wait a second, Don. Let's manage. Does Diaz pitch tonight?
I don't think. Michael, he threw 26 pitches yesterday. I don't even know how many pitches
So who are you bringing in?
I don't know. Maton's already off the board. You're right. I don't. Michael, how do you do it?
Ryan Stanek is warming up.
Again, you're not gonna
also, I got to tell you guys, obviously it'll be viewed differently by each fan base depending what happens, but you can mark it down. 9:30-24. This is an absolute instant classic.
Well, you know what this is? I don't know how much you got to see on Saturday. This is the baseball version of Alabama-Georgia.
Yeah.
That game was insane.
It had to be a great game, Peter, because Don was locked into a college football game.
I know. On a Saturday night, him and Anthony Pusick going back and forth.
It's the way I consume my college football is that, turn on the news for 11 o'clock and you're just starting the fourth quarter of the ABC game, and then I get roped in. But no, this was listen, I didn't watch every second when it was like, what was it, 30-7 or whatever it was. But that back and forth, only to see Alabama end up winning it anyway, which might end up being the case here if the Mets can't figure out the bullpen situation. But, my God, what kind of season Francisco Lindor has had, Michael. And you could take all of and I know WAR is supposed to be the stat that determines all of this. And I can't say I've watched every one of Shohei Ohtani's at-bats, and I know the numbers are gaudy and 50 and 50 and all that stuff. But we're just talking about someone continuously saving the Mets season, day after day, coming up with big hit after big hit. He definitely deserves consideration for the MVP. He just has to. He won't get it.
All right, after week.
Come on.
Mets lead the Braves 8-7. Bottom of the ninth inning, and the Mets are leaving Edwin Diaz in rather than bring in Ryan Stanek to try to close the game. So Diaz struggled in the eighth inning. What does he do now against what is the heart of the Braves order?
Well, he got Olsen to pop out.
The first batter to pop up, yeah.
22, that was his 23rd pitch after throwing 26 yesterday. So he could be on fumes here, but maybe just the adrenaline gets him through. Wow. I guess it's the right move, Michael. I think a compromised Diaz is still better than Stanek in this case. I don't know what he would give you in a big spot. Diaz is probably all fired up after what happened in the last inning. Again, that wasn't all his doing because he came in with a couple of runners on, but still he allowed a walk. He didn't cover first base. He gave up the double. So
well, that was his fault.
Well, that's his fault. I'm just saying. But he came into a situation. You know, sometimes these closers, they come in with guys on. You would rather have a clean inning, but he's got a clean inning here, and he's got an out to get things going. So that's a good sign.
Was the not covering first base, you think, just complete brain fart?
You know, they did. I'm watching it off SNY, and they showed from behind his back after the pitch, and I just think it was absent-minded. I think he thought it was going to be a double. It was a really nice play by Alonso.
And you have to back up another base. So he might have been caught betwixt and between.
Now, it would have been close, but it still had no shot with him not covering. And it was crazy because when I saw it live, I'm like, what a play by Alonso. And I thought, did he catch it on the fly? Because when he got up, he didn't really do much in realizing Diaz wasn't there. That should never be the case.
I mean, this is unbelievable theater. It just is. You know, we said it stunk for Major League Baseball to have this doubleheader, but I think all eyes of baseball fans are on this doubleheader right now.
They're not getting it.
So in a way, it works out great.
It gave us. It's not great for the team that gets in the playoffs, depending what happens here today. But Michael, you're completely right. It's such a great table setter for the playoffs.
Base hit by White after not getting a call on the third ball. It was right. He's not getting the borderline calls.
That was a strike
from this home plate umpire. Should be 2 outs.
It was borderline. It was on the top line of the box that ESPN has, and that was a strike.
And that's it. Looks like he's taking Diaz out because Mendoza's coming out. I'm wondering whether it's to talk to him or whether he is going to make the pitching change here.
I mean, imagine your bacon is on the line with Ryan Stanek.
All right. You do have Severino
ready
for game
else
too, but you can't mess with that. Looks like he's just talking to him, man. Maybe that's it. Just calming him down. It's a big spot, but he's got to be on fumes, Michael. 29 pitches, 26 yesterday. He's pitched a lot here down the stretch, and rightly so. These games have been so, vitally important. Now, he said he'd be available.
So he's staying in.
He said after last night or after yesterday that he'd be available for both games. So,
can I throw something crazy at you guys?
What's that?
I know they wouldn't do it, but Michaels, would any part of your brain consider Severino under the idea that you have to get the win here, and if somehow you don't, whoever loses this game is barely going to put in. I mean, whoever wins this game is barely going to put an effort in the second game anyway.
I think you can't do that because you have the second game as your fallback.
It's not a bad thought. I brought it up to Anthony during the break, and I said the exact same thing you did, Peter. You can't do it, and the reason you can't do it is what if it doesn't work? It's only a 1-run lead. So if he gives it up now in a must-win situation, you lost your starting pitcher. It would be just so devastating. But it did cross my mind too.
By the way, that was just a ball that was 6 inches from being a double down the line.
And now 0-2 on Laureano and a stolen base. So now the tying run is at second base in scoring position with 1 out.
God, I can't do it.
That's what kills you because Diaz obviously has no move, as most closers don't, because they usually don't have to worry about too many runners on and all that. But he's got no move. He's so deliberate to the plate. Sometimes they even look. So you had to figure once he gave up that hit that he was going to end up in scoring position. But with the 1-run lead now, it's tough. God, you just live and die in every pitch. So one thing, like all sports have their drama moments, but baseball having you say what you want about it during the course of the year, and games are long or boring, but then the tension of every pitch is just enormous.
Don, this is the thing that kills me about baseball. I cannot, for whatever reason, force myself to watch complete regular season games. And you get me to meaningful baseball like this, I cannot look away from it. No sport changes. I know we talk about how great playoff hockey is, but the gap between playoff hockey and regular season hockey isn't nearly as great as the gap between playoff baseball and regular season baseball.
No, I got the strikeout. So guess who's coming up, guys? You want drama?
God.
Who do you think's coming up?
Oh, God.
How about
Ronald?
How about a little Travis d'Arnaud? How about that? The former Met trying to put the screws to the Mets with a runner in scoring position. Remember, Michael?
I believe the proper.
Remember,
I think it's d'Arnaud. Pretty sure.
Remember when they said the pitch clock was going to take away from all the drama at the end of games? I disagree.
So the former Met catcher against Diaz.
Yeah, this is
0-1.
You know what? If you wrote a script, from the continuity director say, no, this is too much. This is too much. So, whew.
Don,
this is a Monday.
Don, you sweating?
Listen, I'm 56 years old. I got a mortgage, but when I was 18 years old, I'd be in a.
You're still feeling it, though. I can tell
listen,
you're feeling it.
You gotta feel it, man. It's your team. It's all on the line. This is it. This isn't somebody else's team. This isn't an observation from afar. This is it. This is why you get involved in this.
One strike away.
This is why you get involved in sports radio, because we're all fans, and we live for these moments. Another pitch underneath the knees.
I got to knock on wood. I got to tell you, Diaz has had a few nice pitches here in this inning.
He has, and the base hit was just a bloop. So he's looked good. He's looked strong.
And he should have gotten out of that at bat also.
This is his 40th pitch. So.
Well, they're a little behind the 8 ball for Game 1 tomorrow.
Yeah, but you know what?
Well, listen,
score a ton
you
of
just got to
runs,
dream
it
of
won't
Game
matter.
1 now.
Severino pitches a complete game. It's all forgiven. I just want that opportunity to blow up in their face. And I don't want to say anything, but he gets out of a ground ball to short. Mets are in the playoffs.
How do you like that?
They take a knee season. What are they doing? They're not making any moves. They're giving up. They're just getting you ready for 2025. And the 2024 New York Mets are a wild card team. How about that?
Wow.
Let's listen to Lindor's home run called by Howie Rose on 880.
Johnson ready. His first pitch to Lindor. Swinging a high fly ball. Well hit right center. Harris going back. It's on the way. It is gone. Into the Braves bullpen in right center field. Francisco Lindor has an MVP moment. Whether he wins one or not, he has just put the Mets back on top. 8-7. A 2-run home run. His 33rd of the year. He's not only hugged by Marte. Marte lifts Lindor off of his feet. This is an unbelievable baseball game. The Mets have taken an 8-7 lead here in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
What a great call by Howie and a great moment. I mean, a great moment. If the Mets do something in the playoffs, we're going to remember this game for a long time.
Again, I'm going to talk about it because I really think he deserves serious consideration. I just wonder, Michael, he's not going to win it, I know. But if you were somebody, if you're a voter on the fence about Ohtani or Lindor, this game's on national television. You're watching this game. I wonder if that's enough to make you decide Lindor, if you're on the fence.
Yeah, I just don't know how you're on the fence because the year that Ohtani had is so extraordinary. I don't know if you could be on the fence. But if that on the fence voter exists, I mean, this has to move the needle, right?
He's A+ defender, and I'm telling you, watching every game, you know how much I consume the Mets, that this is not happening without him. It's not happening without him. Now, is there a scenario in which the Dodgers still win the division or make the playoffs without Ohtani? I don't know. Again, I don't watch them every single day. But I'm telling you, as somebody who watches the Mets every single day, this is not happening without Francisco Lindor. Not happening. This is probably everything we thought this season was going to be. That this was going to be a non-playoff team, maybe a little better than expected, but they probably would have finished with maybe, around 500, maybe under, and then gearing up for 2025. And this team's, going to the playoffs because of him. That, to me, is the definition of most valuable player. You want to say who the best player is. You want to say who the player of the year is. But when you think of most valuable, it's a team that was looked upon as taking a knee, a team that looked like they didn't have any chance of making the playoffs, and Lindor has the season of his life and carries this team to the postseason. That's got to deserve some consideration to me. It just has to.
And here's the call on the final out.
Diaz sets the 2-2 pitch. Swinging a bouncing ball, slowly hit to short. Waiting on it, Lindor. He's got it. Throws to first. Put it in the box. Diaz slams the glove down. He is pounced on by Alvarez. And the New York Mets are headed to postseason play in what has been a memorable season. There were 11 games under 500 in late May. They have stormed all the way back, and metaphorically, they did so today.
Yes, they did. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed it, and if you're listening to us or watching us on Yes, you didn't see it, but he gets the last out, and then Alvarez leaps in his arm, and it's like Diaz said no, and he jumped away, because remember, Diaz got hurt in the WBC celebrating the championship.
That's right. I don't know if it was that or just being physically exhausted, but no, I did notice that. But this was a playoff game today. It was. It wasn't your normal playoff game, considering there was, the margin for error for the game later today with the doubleheader. But to be down 3-0, to be dead, to score the 6 runs, only to give it right back, and then to get off the mat again and survive, that looks like, to me, all of the makings of a team that can handle the postseason. And they're going to go in and let's see what they do. It could still be the Padres. If the Mets were to win today, now it's going to be tough going up against Chris Sale in the game they know they don't need to have. Now, they won the season series against the Padres. Did not look great this year against Milwaukee. But
no, Milwaukee runs too much.
But considering the fact that you don't have to bust it in this second game, travel a little bit easier going to Milwaukee than having to go to San Diego. Now, from what I understand, we have a 5:30 first pitch if it's in Milwaukee. It'll be an 8:30 first pitch if it's in San Diego tomorrow. So, Michael, as much as they play well against the Padres, that's a really good team. So are the Brewers. But considering everything this team went for, I think it's going to be tough to get on a plane and fly, 2,500 miles to San Diego for a game tomorrow. I think I just take on the Brewers and take my chances. What do you do?
You know what? Both teams are tough. Milwaukee runs, and the Mets do not control the running game all that much, although with Torrens they do, but not so much with Alvarez. And you could see what Milwaukee did in the first 2 games of the weekend series. They're going to run against the Mets, but I think I agree with you. I'd rather face Milwaukee, which is not as good of a team as the Padres. Both teams have exceptional bullpens. It's a tough call, but you're in. Once you're in, anything could happen. Anything can happen.
No, we've seen anything can happen.
Let's go to Danny in Long Island and see what Danny's thinking. Danny
is emotionally drained and beyond any recognition.
Try working through it.
I can't. They're down 3-0. I'm driving to work. I throw on the K show because I think this is over. And then to put us through that, they score 6, and then true Met fashion, you give it back only to get it back with Lindor. It's just this is why we watch sports. Every once in a while, you get a Game 6 against, the Astros in '86. You get the Yankees scoring 4 runs, or Pedro in that World Series playoff game. I just don't know what. I'm just drained emotionally. There aren't any words, and in the manner in which they won the game, kind of gives them credence that they're a playoff team, even though they slid the last week and had trouble closing it out. The manner in which if they would have just won the next game 3-0 against a half a Brave team, it would have been like, kissing your sister. But to win the game in the manner in which they won it, to show some heart, some fortitude, there's nothing you can say to Lindor that's overhyping him. He is an MVP candidate, whether he gets it or not. But I just need to go someplace to sit quietly and maybe have an adult beverage, maybe a vibe, whatever the word is, for about the next 4 or 5 hours. Because I am just completely emotionally, morally, and just physically ill and exhausted. Thank you, guys. Try to get me through the rest of the day. I can't go on much longer.
Thank you, Danny.
Wow, he's morally ill. That's strange.
You invest this. It's imagine what the players are going through, the emotional roller coaster. But he brought up '86, and that was kind of like what it was reminiscent of, the back and forth. But, listen, this team's flawed. We know that. There's issues with this team. But what you see in baseball, and I think that's why we've seen so many teams make runs from the wild card, or the best teams don't always win, What would you rather have? The fundamentally sound, no-holes team that you question their heart and ability in a big spot, or a team that just doesn't quit, a team that just keeps fighting and still believing in it? Listen, you want a good team, but I also want a team that mentally can handle it. And they slayed it. This is a big dragon they slayed, Michael. This is the first time. This is the first time that they had faced the Atlanta Braves in a big spot and beat them. It really going back to, you have to go back to '69 when they beat them in the playoffs to go to the World Series for the first time. I mean, this has been their nemesis. This has been their bugaboo. This has been the obstacle they could not overcome for decades. So that's pretty significant. So you go in that room and you can look at your flaws, and they can't hold runners on, and sometimes the offense disappears, and the back end of the bullpen, all the things that you worry about with this baseball team, they can look themselves in the mirror and say, there was a lot of good Met teams that couldn't do what we just did today. And I know the Braves are compromised, but in a game of emotion and juju and things that kind of scare you, they did the job against the Atlanta Braves when a lot of other teams that wore a Met uniform couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's just an amazing game. I mean, again, it's almost a game that has the probability or possibility of using it as a springboard. I mean, you're going to be exhausted tomorrow no matter where you play, if it's Milwaukee or San Diego, but you should be riding on a cloud. Now, one thing Major League Baseball spoke to both teams today or yesterday and said, absolutely no celebration between games. We can't have it because you got to play a second game. So you could celebrate after the game, but you can't celebrate.
No goggles?
No goggles.
Nothing.
No. And it makes,
maybe after the game, but then after the game, both teams, they want to get on a plane and go.
You'd have to be stupid to want to celebrate today. I'm sorry. Go take care of business, guys. Try to keep winning games.
And they got to be careful on the flight, because right now they're 25 hours away from first pitch of Game 1 of a best-of-3 series that you can't really afford to lose Game 1. And the thing that Alonso kept saying is they couldn't celebrate in 2022 because they blew the division. So when they got the wild card, there was nothing really to celebrate because they just got blown by the Braves and lost out on the division. That now they're not going to be able to celebrate again. Yeah, so you know what you do? Yep. You know what you do, Pete? Go out there, beat the Brewers, and you can celebrate all you want when you head to the divisional round.
Let's go to John in Tom's River. Johnny.
Hi, guys. Good to talk to you. Just a couple comments about Game 2 of this doubleheader coming up now. You got Sale to pitch, which is good. So the Braves are really shot now for their playoff run. Do you lay down, let the Braves win, and just ship Severino to Milwaukee and just prepare for that? Because the Mets win and go to San Diego.
Boy, that's a good question. I don't know. You don't lay down, but I love the idea of sending Severino ahead. But what if you send him to the wrong place?
No,
so
you don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, if you lay down, if you lose the game, you go to Milwaukee.
Is that the spirit of competition, just to lay down? I mean, I don't think they're going to have an urgency to win, but I don't think they're going to roll over and lay down. I don't think you just roll over and lay down so that you could send Severino. I mean, what if something weird happens? You roll over and lay down and you still win, and then Severino's in the wrong city. So
yeah, you can. And
I don't think you could do it.
How do you do it, Michael? I mean, you can't. You don't want to throw him on a commercial flight. So what, the charter right now flies out to Milwaukee, and what is going to get back in time to fly? No, then you can't.
No. When you fly guys ahead, it's on commercial flights.
Yeah, but would you want? I wouldn't want my pitcher to do that. 24 hours before a game, and then the flight for whatever reason gets delayed. No. I understand the logic but the fact that you don't want him having to fly that close to a start, and then, like you said, what if they win the game? And then he's got to get on a flight to San Diego. No, you can't do it. Just be smart today. You go with an opener. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. And then you take your chances with the Milwaukee Brewers. Listen, you love to stick it to the Braves and beat them. I'm sure the Diamondback fans are all hoping for that. But, hey, the Diamondbacks don't have a kick coming. They lost 2 out of 3 to a team that didn't need it in the San Diego Padres. So all the Mets have to worry about is themselves right now, and play the game any way you want it today.
I'll tell you what, there's so much to unpack with this game. It's going to go down as one of the great Met games. It really is. Now, they've won 2 World Series, so obviously there's great moments in those years. But this got them into the postseason after not making it last year, which was such a disappointing year after they won 101 games a year before. And now they were left for dead. They were 11 games under 500. They started the season 0-5. and they come back and they lose 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee, so it's kind of set up for more heartbreak. They take a 6-3 lead. They give it back. They're losing 7-6. Now it's really set up for heartbreak. And then
don't forget the 3.
It is an unbelievable thing.
Don't forget the 3-0 part. I mean, multiple comebacks just in this game. It's an absolute instant classic.
Listen, it's not going to be compared the same as Game 6 against the Astros in '86, but it was similar in the sense they were down 3-0 in the ninth, came back and tied it, back and forth, extra innings. Won the series, even though there was a margin because they still had a Game 7, but nobody thought they would beat Scott in that Game 7. But as far as the comeback from 3-0 down and the ebb and flows back and forth, and that's what it kind of reminded me of. That was a day game as well, Michael. I don't know if you remember that Game 6 against the Astros. So again, this is a regular season game compared to going to the World Series, but it had that kind of never say die back and forth that Game 6 in '86 had against the Astros.
Well, we have ENN coming up, which is going to be very exciting. I don't know if it's going to be as exciting as Game 1 of this doubleheader.
No, by the way, there are massive stories we have not yet gotten to. So this is going to be a big ENN.
And you know who's loving this Mets game? Loving this Mets game.
Who?
The Jets.
Who?
The Jets are loving this.
We're not talking about their awful loss.
Out of the gate, some breaking news. Chris Sale scratched from Game 2 with back spasms for the Braves.
No way. No way.
That is, yes, he has been scratched,
Oh, my
Michael.
goodness.
So, it has been a topsy-turvy day for the Atlanta Braves, and now they'll have to do it in Game 2 without Chris Sale.
God,
now, fortunately,
you should still be able to win a game that the Mets don't need to win.
I was about to say, do the Mets care at all about this game? I mean...
Well, I mean, it does choose who they play.
I don't think you mail it in because that looks bad. You want to do you want to honor the game, but you also don't want to hurt yourself. But you only have 28 guys, right, Michael? It's a 29 because you don't have the extra guy.
No extra guy in September.
No extra guy in September. So you got 28 guys. Somebody has to play. So people don't want to embarrass themselves, Peter, and purposely strike out. But your head's not in the game. You're not going to be as engaged as the Braves are. So you would think that's a distinct advantage to Atlanta. But the Mets just can't mail it in and, play a bunch of scrubs. They've got to play. There'll be guys that'll get a rest, but they're all major leaguers. They're all guys that were on the roster. They're all guys that are part of the team.
All right, so here's what we know about the Mets situation. The second game has just started. If the Mets lose this game, then they will go to Milwaukee. So the Mets do have some incentive if they want to avoid Milwaukee. If the Mets win Game 2 of the doubleheader, they'll clinch the number 2 wild card, number 5 seed overall, and visit the number 1 wild card, which would be San Diego. Arizona will be the number 3 wild card, number 6 seed overall, and they would visit Milwaukee. That would be if Atlanta would be eliminated. Now, if Atlanta wins Game 2 of the doubleheader, they'll clinch the number 2 wild card and the 5 seed overall and visit San Diego. New York would be the number 3 wild card and visit National League Central champ Milwaukee in wild card Series A, and Arizona would be eliminated. So, Don, as a Met fan, you've got to make a decision right now. Where do you want to play if you could choose? You want to play San Diego or you want to play Milwaukee? Because if you lose, you're going to Milwaukee.
Now, I think the Padres are a better team than the Brewers. But I think the Mets actually match up better against San Diego. They played well against them. They had a winning record against them this year. Split the 4 games in San Diego. I like the whole, get them for what happened 2 years ago when they came to Citi Field and beat you. Brewers, the Mets have a hard time with Milwaukee. I think they've lost what is it, 3 of the last 8 or lost 5 of the last 8, something like that. That's not a great record against them, but travel's a little easier. Rather than having to go all the way across the country. God, but I do think it's kind of sexy to knock the Braves out, isn't it?
Mets just went down 1-2-3 on 7 pitches, so that tells you not working the count.
No,
not so much.
But again, when you look at the lineup, no Lindor, but you got Nimmo, you got Alonso, you got Marte. Taylor, Bader. So there's no Alvarez. Obviously, Terens is the catcher, so they don't have scrubs up there. But you're right. But their mentality probably, let's get the heck out of here as quick as possible so we can get to our next city as fast as possible. So,
well, the one thing that Milwaukee gives you too is a shorter flight.
Well, that's why I would probably, if everything's equal, I'd rather have the Padres than the Brewers. But considering that it's not equal, that's a quicker flight. Just, it's a quick turnaround, Michael. Atlanta to Milwaukee, what is that, like maybe 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
You buzz through this game, you hurry up, you get out of Dodge, and just get a decent night's sleep and get ready for this game rather than fly all the way across the country. And listen, both of us have had the absolute pleasure of flying on charters. So it's not like taking a commercial flight from Atlanta to San Diego. But it's still in the air for a long period of time, getting in late, not getting the sleep, because it's going to be a 5:30 local time first pitch. So it's not going to be your normal, 7:30, 8 o'clock game. It's supposed to be at 8:30 Eastern time. So that's 5:30 in San Diego. So what time are you going to get into San Diego? It's already 5 o'clock, and we're at the bottom of the first inning. So Michael, what time would they get into San Diego?
All right, so let's say the game lasts 2.5 hours.
All right.
So that goes to 7:30. Then it takes an hour to leave the ballpark. That's 8:30. Then it usually takes an hour to load the luggage and all the equipment onto the plane. So that's 9:30. So from Atlanta to San Diego, I would say it's a 5-hour flight, maybe 4.5 if you push it. So if you're leaving at 9:30, you're getting in at 1:30. Yeah, 1:30 Eastern time. But it would be. It would be 10:30.
Yeah, you're going to get
West Coast time.
Yeah, it's not awful. Get right to sleep. It's not terrible, but it's like a long flight. Where Milwaukee, you'll get there in half the time, and you probably stay in a hotel that you've been in the last few days anyway. Maybe even get to stay in the same room. Listen, neither's a cakewalk. Those are two fabulous teams, but I think because of the logistics, I would probably take Milwaukee.
Now, the Mets are starting Joey Lucchesi, so they saved Severino. Now, we'll talk about this when we get back, but I just want to throw it out there. Would Brian Snitker have the onions to not pitch Sale just so he could start him in Game 1 of the wild card series? Because, I mean, you don't think Chris Sale would pitch through let's put it this way. I think it gets answered tomorrow, Don, if the Braves make it and Chris Sale starts.
Well, you
don't get over a bad back that quickly.
Well, it's not a bad back, it's back spasms, right? So is that something that, all right, I'm fine now. He was warming up, felt back spasms, and decided to sit. You can't take that chance. Really, you can't. Why would you ever, as a real good manager, Michael, why would you plan for something that's not guaranteed? I understand it puts you at a disadvantage the next series not having an 18-game winner or possibly 19-game winner if you won the game tonight, starting Game 1. But you don't have that luxury. You got to win the game. Listen, they've got professionals. It's not like the Mets are throwing a minor league team out there.
Edwin Diaz told the pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner, that he was out of the game in the top of the 9th inning. He was done. But after Lindor's home run, Diaz said he wanted to go back out. Carlos Mendoza pushed back, but Diaz insisted.
It's really interesting, Michael. Doesn't that sound very familiar? Do you remember Harvey in the World Series?
Oh, yeah.
Where you let the pitcher dictate it, and we killed Terry Collins for it. I didn't. I was kind of on the fence. You killed him, I think I remember. Come on, you got to do what's best for the team. You can't be influenced by the crowd. You can't be influenced by the player. Listen, Mendoza was influenced by the player, Michael. And if he had blown it again, and then when you tell that story, how would it look? Now there wasn't a lot.
I think he was influenced by the player because he had no other option. I mean, you don't want to go, to what they had left in the bullpen.
But he wasn't going to have him go out there. And then Diaz said, "I want to," and he's like, "Okay." So even with the lack of options, it sounded like Mendoza wanted to go with those options ahead of Diaz now having to go out there and throw 40-plus pitches after 26 the day before to be able to get it done. So, again, results are always what wins the day, right? Harvey couldn't get it done, so Collins looks bad. Diaz got the job done, and now it's a great story. That'll go, that'll be right there when they write the book about the season.
Welcome back to the show. If you've been at work, the Mets won a thrilling first game of the doubleheader, clinching a playoff berth. And, we have a lot of Yankee fans that watch and listen to this show. And, you kind of rolling your eyes. They're making such a big... You know what? They don't make the playoffs that often in their history, Don. It's a big deal. And the way they did it in that first game, it's a bigger deal. I mean, to losing 3-0, then scoring 6 runs to go up 6-3, then watching the Braves score 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning to go down 7-6, and then Lindor hit a 2-run home run. That is major drama, man, to get into the postseason, a place where the organization has not been to quite enough.
Why can't you just appreciate, what's happening here? I don't want to compare it to the Yankees or anybody else. This was a season that wasn't supposed to be anything. We talked a lot about the fact that they looked like they were taking a knee, wait till the better free agent, signing one-year contracts. Well, let's call it what it is. One-year contract is somebody that's very easy to move at the deadline. I was one screaming in early May when there were 11 games under 500, sell, sell, sell. This team's not going anywhere. And for them to be able to make the playoffs, even though it's just a wild card, hey, an 84-win team in the Arizona Diamondbacks went to the World Series last year. So it's an opportunity to be able to play in the postseason. Mets have not been in the postseason since 22. Before that, it was 2016. So I don't think I should ever have to apologize for being excited about having a surprise season like this. All right, the Yankees go to the playoffs every single year, Peter. Okay, good for them. That's good. That's where they are. I want to try to get to that point. And how you get to that point is learning how to win. And if you're any kind of just a fan of competition, if you couldn't see that drama and just going to downplay it as, it's just two teams battling for a wild card spot, looking down at the Philistines as these guys are playing, then why do you even follow sports, man? That's captivating stuff. And to be on the winning end of it, Peter, I'm not going to apologize for that. That's fun.
That's the thing. So today, real quick, obviously the main topics were the Knicks, of course, but probably even more so the horrible performance from the Jets yesterday and how upset Jets fans are. Are you really going to be upset that the conversation that's now sort of shifted and taken over is an incredibly glorious win for one of the local teams that now plays in the playoffs tomorrow?
You can't get upset. It should be met with glee by Met fans. It was a game for the ages.
Glee.
No,
met with glee.
Every Met fan's excited about that, and it's fun because it's an opportunity to see what this team can do. This is not like the NBA where you're an 8 seed. I know the Knicks made a run back in 99, and we saw the Heat the other year make a run. But for the most part, it's like, we're just going to be a sacrificial lamb. We're going to get pounded in the first round. But don't you feel like, why not us? Why can't we make a run? Anytime you make the playoffs in sports now, the feeling is we can be that team. And I saw it, and I was fortunate enough on the football side to see the Giants do it not once but twice. You're happy to make the playoffs. Next thing you know, you're playing in the championship game and you're going to a Super Bowl and you win it. Now, I'm not saying this team's going to win a World Series. They're certainly not going to be the favorite to maybe even get out of the first round, but just the opportunity to do this in a season where it looked like they weren't going to go anywhere. And this is a sport that really honors these types of runs. Look how where the Nationals were at the All-Star game a couple of years ago, and they win the World Series. The Mets to see the other end of it, where they win 101 games and the Braves blow by them in the last second, and the Mets get bounced in the first round. To be able to go in with a little momentum, that's a fun thing. And I think this team's got a real chance to make some noise.
Now, if the Mets win the second game of the doubleheader, they go to Milwaukee. If they lose, they go to San Diego. So the Mets are 4-16 in their last 20 games in Milwaukee. That's according to StatMuse. They are 9-11 in their last 20 at San Diego. Now, the Mets are actually better in Atlanta, 6-14 the last 20, including today, than they are in Milwaukee. So think about that. And Atlanta's been a house of horrors. And when you look at Milwaukee, though, they do something the Mets don't handle very well, and they run. Mm-hmm. They run all the time. Everybody runs. It's almost like double-digit steals up and down the lineup, and they run on any score. They run on any count. They're just an aggressive team coached by a guy or managed by a guy who was a coach in college. So he has that kind of like mindset. He's going to push the envelope, and I don't think that fits with the Met pitchers who don't hold runners that well. And Francisco Alvarez doesn't throw out runners that well. Torrens does.
Yeah.
But you're not going to take Alvarez's bat out of the lineup to control the running game. So maybe the Mets match up better with San Diego. I don't know. Maybe they do. And I think, I'm like you, Don. I think San Diego's a better team than Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think San Diego's got a real chance, but it's all about matchups. The Mets have won 5 of 7 games against the Padres, have an earned run average of 2.93 against San Diego this year. J.D. Martinez, who's kind of been a non-player recently, he's 8 for 20 against the Padres this season. So here's what it comes down to. I was thinking about this during the break. So you're a Met fan, and the Mets have a 3-2 lead in the bottom of the 9th inning. Are you hoping they hold on to the lead, or are you hoping they blow it?
Well, let's bring in a colleague of ours who, like you, Don, is a big Met fan. And I was just wondering what he was doing during that Game 1 and what he's feeling right now. And that is one of the stars of our morning show, DiPietro and Rothenberg. Dave Rothenberg joins us now over the phone. Dave, thoughts, hopes, feelings, what are you going through?
Well, thanks for having me. I'd like to correct something you said, though. Not one of the stars of the morning show. And I'll let you read into that how you'd like.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So,
be positive or negative.
Yeah. I mean, how am I feeling? I mean, that was nothing short of sensational. I mean, the Mets don't have the track record the Yankees have, where we have 27 world championships and everything is like World Series or bust. This is awesome. This is nothing short of awesome for me. I am absolutely, unequivocally thrilled. I'm torn now because I don't know if I want to win this game, and then I'd love to knock the Braves out, but do you want to knock the Braves out and then go to San Diego? I don't play that game anymore. Whatever happens in this game happens in this game.
But I'm starting to think...
Well, if you knock the Braves out, you go to Milwaukee.
If you knock the Braves out...
No.
If you win, if you win 2 in a row, you go. If you win both games, you go to San Diego. Right. And if you split, you go to Milwaukee.
And Dave, I just gave the scenario before you called in about, like, if it's 3-2 in the bottom of the 9th inning, I'm going to probably root for the Mets to win the game, knock the Braves out, and go to San Diego. The more I start to think about it, maybe it's because of what just happened this weekend in Milwaukee, or how bad at the start of the season, getting swept by them at Citi Field. The flight notwithstanding, I think I take the Padres.
Yeah, it's like these are 2 really, really difficult matchups. I mean, I don't understand exactly how Milwaukee is so good, but they are. And they're a real problem. And they run like crazy against the Mets on the bases. San Diego has real star power. They've been the best team in baseball since, last couple of months. So I don't know. And truthfully, I don't really care. Just getting in. What a wonderful day. The highs and the lows just in like that 45-minute span. The game was over. Then they take a 4-3 lead. No, it's a prodigious blast, and I'm totally convinced they're going to win. Then Diaz comes in. How do you forget to cover first base? He forgets to cover first base. They fall behind. They take the lead again. They leave him in the game. I mean, guys, it reminded me of the 86 NLCS against Houston in like that Game 6 where back and forth, but I couldn't be happier about this club right now.
All right, but I need to get inside your soul because you're an emotional sort.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
Very.
So when they take the lead after trailing 3-0, what's going on in your mind?
So in my mind is, oh my God, they have a real chance to win. And then when Nimmo hits the home run, I'm fully convinced they're going to win. And then Diaz, they bring in Maton. He gets the one out, one guy on. Then they take him out of the game. Diaz comes in, falls apart. I lose my composure. I know you find that hard to believe, but I become infuriated. I'm cursing. I'm throwing things. I'm furious.
Love it.
Then Lindor, I'm sure you do. Lindor comes up, and it was weird. I think, Gary Cohn is terrific, but his call was weird because he said he got under it. So I was like, oh, God, got under it. And then it just kept going and going and going and going and left the park. So, I mean, I was that. I'll tell you what, Michael, and you can appreciate this because you know how troubled I am with the Giants. That was as close to a Giants-esque moment as I've had in quite some time.
And by the way,
Peter, covered all right?
He said no. I heard Michael say, "Were you nude?" So I sorry.
Yeah, were you nude, Peter?
And then that image popped in your head, and you didn't know what to say.
Yeah, and he wasn't nude. I'll answer for him, but I understand why Gary's. like Gary said it, Lindor did get on.
You know I wasn't naked. I might have been totally naked running around my house scaring everybody.
Oh.
You can't just say I wasn't naked. I wasn't. You're right. I don't think you can say that just matter of factly I wasn't naked.
I don't relate to.
No, I don't. No, I don't bother, Don. Now, Dave, you are a historian. What other games come to mind all time for you with that level of back and forth where you think you got it, you don't got it, you got it?
I mean, 86. It really, 80s, like that was playoff baseball for me. That was Astros 86. That was Red Sox 86. It's not the same magnitude of importance. Obviously, that's, NLCS and that's World Series, but that's what it felt like. It felt like the game was just back and forth. And I don't know if you guys feel like this. I mean, Don, you might because you're the Mets fan. Like, I have 100% confidence the Braves win this game and they still get into the playoffs. If the Mets lose a game like that, they probably blow game 2, and don't even get into the postseason. So it's not the same as 86, but if you say what did it feel like, that was, for me, a postseason game. It felt like 86.
And Braves 1-0 lead in the bottom of the second inning. Michael, we have a little bit of an issue tomorrow.
What's happening?
Because the listener that won dinner with me and Dave, it was really difficult to schedule because you can't do Mondays for Dave because there's football. You can't do Thursday because there's football. So we finally came down with a day, and the day is tomorrow.
How can you get
So
dinner
this listener is going to have dinner.
Wait.
And we're logistically we're trying to move the dinner. It was originally set for like 6:30. Then I would show up a little bit later after the show. But if the Mets play the Brewers, we're going to be off the air at 5:30 for the Met game. So they moved the dinner to 5:30. Dave, how are we going to have dinner with this guy and be engaged?
No. And further out, and Don, also let me add to that. How much of a psycho are you, Dave, that your own psychosis has put you here?
Right,
because tonight you could have stepped out on Titans, Dolphins, Seahawks, Lions.
What a great
And instead, now you're dealing with a Mets playoff game.
You're not wrong. I mean, I've really stepped right in it on my own. I mean, what are the odds that the Mets would play at 5:30? At 8:30 I can get away with, right? I mean, 2 o'clock I could get away with. I mean, Don, you're going to get to see inside the belly of the beast. It's going to be maniacal tomorrow night at 5:30. But I will tell you this. I think I might be less crazed tomorrow than I was today. Because at least today, there was no tomorrow. Tomorrow, that if they lose, there is a potential Game 2 and Game 3.
Well,
Dave, I'm glad that you could share your feelings with us, and Peter's right. This is karma. You could have. I mean, what do these games to you mean tonight? Nothing. Tomorrow means everything. I don't get it.
Well,
you got snapped by karma.
I mean, I care about football. I love football.
But do you care more about you care more about Titans Dolphins than the Mets playoff game tomorrow? That's my question.
Well, you know what? It's a win for me. I get to take this game. It's not like I can't watch the Mets. I get to watch the game with Don. That's a win for me. Don and I never get to watch games
You're
together.
not going to be paying attention to the fan. You're going to be squirming.
No.
You'll be screaming and cursing.
No, the fan becomes, unfortunately for him, he becomes irrelevant. It's going to be me and the Mets and Don on the side.
I don't think that was the station's trying to sell that. You should try to downplay that a little bit. But this is
probably not.
This is the karma. But this is the karma. This is what, because we could very easily have done this on any other day. But whatever, we're going to make it work. I've seen Dave. We actually watched a Giant game together back in 2016 up in Bristol. He's like a caged animal. So I think this listener is in for more than he expects watching the Mets with myself and Dave. But we're going to make it work, Michael. It's going to be fun. At Blondie's, you're all
Dave, I know. Please tell everybody I said hello. Dave, you and Rick have a great show tomorrow starting at 6.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Love you.
Love you back.
What a guy.
So, wow. That is going to be really that's going to be a bacchanal tomorrow, Don.
Yeah, it'll be fun because what you got to be honest though, is as engaging as playoff baseball is. I mean, I think we can do two things at once. I think you. Yeah,
but this is best of 3. You lose one game,
the game's going to be on. Believe me, they've worked it all out. So we're going to be on it.
You know what, Don? I appreciate you. You know what, Don? I appreciate you because we know you are not a guy who believes in going out for big games. but I'm glad you're not going so far to the point that you don't think it's possible to go out and watch a big game.
Oh, but the fact that we have to do it because he could. Now, I understand not doing it on a Thursday when the Giants and Cowboys are playing or when the Jets or Patriots are playing. That doesn't make any sense. But just Mondays and Thursdays were out no matter who was playing. Does that make any sense? Yeah. And I love football too, but come on. So this is karma biting him right in the fanny.
That's who he is, though. It does make sense because it makes no sense. And then Mike Vaccaro of the New York Post tweets out, just one man's opinion, but that's almost certainly the greatest game in Mets regular season history and probably belongs in no particular order alongside Game 6, 1986 NLCS, and Game 6 of the 86 World Series in the top 3 games in team history.
He's not wrong. I mean,
is this?
I saw it.
I know, but
go ahead.
It's not. This isn't us doing. Don't get me wrong. It was amazing, but for the amount of baseball that's been played, that's not being a little prisoner of the moment.
But not really, because what other games would you throw out in the regular season? I mean, they had a play-in game against the Reds that was, a great performance by Leiter, but it wasn't the back-and-forth excitement that you saw from the game today. There was, when they clinched the playoff berth in '73, the last day of the season at Wrigley Field in Chicago, kind of a nondescript game.
But real quick, Don, that's not the part that I'm thinking about. Vaccaro says alongside Game 6, 86 NLCS, and Game 6 of the World Series, number 3 ever? I mean, don't get me wrong. It was their history certainly much better than I do. That just seems hyperbolic to me.
It seems it, but if you think about it, and I've been thinking about it, really since the game ended, and certainly even more so when Vaccaro tweeted it out, I'm trying to think of another game that would be in that conversation. Obviously, those 286, that's 1 and 2, whatever order you want to put it in. Is the World Series bigger than the League Championship Series? So you want to put the game against the Red Sox ahead of it. But what other games would you talk about? It's in the conversation. I understand prisoner of the moment, but going through my mind right now, and I'll think about it more, I'm trying to come up with another game that could be comparable besides those 2 and 86.
1-800-919-3776 is the number. Let's take some phone calls. Let's go to Luke in Miami. Luke.
Hey, Mike, Don, Peter. How you guys doing?
What's up?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm great. I'm not, just to clear the air, I'm not a Mets fan. I'm not a Yankees fan. That game earlier was phenomenal. That was the best baseball game. I haven't been up for a game like that in a long time. I mean, I'm a Mariners fan, so what are you going to do? But my question is, why? It just stinks when I turn on I listen to you guys all the time, but it always skews negative because of the callers and because of the tweets or whatever. But my question is, why do you guys, what do you have to engage it? Because it's the only thing you guys are getting.
Well, what have we said negative about that game? What have we said negative about
not that game? But yeah, no, not that game, but it just creeps back in when the Yankees come up, or like yesterday it just seems very negative. And then you guys, unfortunately, talk about it for 10 minutes how we hate all the negative fans, and it's kind of a bummer, and I just wonder, why you guys even bring it up if then it just turns the whole show.
Well, I mean, if you've listened to talk radio, and we thank you for the phone call, people that are negative call in more than people that are positive. So what, are we going to not take their phone calls?
No, sometimes I wish we would.
Sports radio is driven on negativity.
True. But, during the course of a year, because I think the fans in New York are so passionate that they kind of skew negative just because they're so invested. It's all right, you did something great. All right, what's the next game going to be about? But not today, man. No. If you're a Met fan, there's nothing negative to say.
Let's go to Derek in Atlanta. Derek.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my phone call. I just want to say that I am a Yankees fan. But that being said, that was a tremendous win by the New York Mets today. And in my opinion, I think they're going to be a very dangerous team now that they're in. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think that they're in better shape because they won Game 1. You have a pretty good pitcher pitching in Game 1 now. But they're also not in great shape, though, because their bullpen, I don't think you could use Edwin Diaz tomorrow.
Probably not.
After as much as he's pitched in the last 2 days. So you're going in compromised. You just are. If they'd won a couple of games in Milwaukee, that wouldn't be the case. They could have just sent anybody out there for these 2 games.
No, but,
they would have clinched early.
I don't think they're going to be a favorite against Milwaukee or San Diego. I'm not sure the odds are going to be in their favor to win a World Series, but you got to like the way they're playing at least. Yeah, there's some boxes you'd like to check, but there's got to be a belief in that room that anything is possible. And they got to come in with a swagger and a bit of confidence. Yeah, there's a lot of things I'd like to change. I think they need to hit a little better. And you're right, the bullpen's a bit compromised, but this rotation has been pretty good. And we'll see how it breaks down. But why not make a run, Michael? We saw the Diamondbacks make a run last year, the Phillies before that. I mean, it's kind of a sport that seems to honor how you're playing at the particular moment. And now you don't think about the 2 games you lost to Milwaukee. You're thinking about the game today and what this team might be capable of doing. And I can't fight a Met fan that believes right now. I'm starting to believe.
Rick in Highland Lake. Rick.
Yeah, hi, guys.
What's up?
Hello, Rick.
Hi, great show. Listen to you guys every day. Watch you guys every day, actually. Anyway, I'm going back to talking about the most exciting Met games. One of them, I think, I was at it in 1969, and it wasn't run-wise, but when they came back from the Cubs, had a big lead, and Tom Seaver almost pitched a perfect game.
Jimmy Qualls game.
And I remember the fans singing "Goodbye, Leo" for DeRocher, who was the Cubs manager.
No,
it's interesting. Interesting he brings that up, though, Don, and I think that lends some credence to what Peter said. We're prisoners of the moment. I mean, that was an exhilarating game. But that game in 1969 was pretty important in Met history. Really important.
No, it was important.
The guy almost did pitch a perfect game.
Yeah. But this clinched a playoff spot, and just the craziness. Like I was getting back and forth with Anthony Greek from Yes about that 99 play-in game, Mets-Reds, the 2-hitter by Al Leiter. It was exhilarating, and the Mets went on to take on the Diamondbacks and beat the Diamondbacks until they fell to the Braves. But I
think it was a 1-hitter, by the way.
I think it was just the back and forth of coming back from 3-0 down, blowing the 6-3 lead, the quality of the game. Like, there were great moments, even though it was there was the quality of play might have been the greatest. There was still just the back and forth, the exhilaration of the game. A game in the summer in '69 when there wasn't really much of a pennant race. It was a great game for Tom Seaver, and he almost had a perfect game, and it was a great moment. I remember, and one of my favorite.
But that kind of eliminated the Cubs. I mean, it was a big moment.
But this is the last day of the season. I'm sorry, I can't include that. It was a special moment for Tom Seaver, and it's a great memory. We got somebody on hold, Eddie, in Staten Island. He brings up another great game from September 20th of 1973, right, Eddie?
Yes. Yeah. The 73 game, it was the ball off the wall where you thought it was going to be a home run.
Right.
And then Cleon Jones throws it home, and then Ron Hodges makes the play, and the Mets were on a run there. If they lose that game, I mean, the Mets went on to win some games, but you never know what happens after that game.
Dave Augustine came up as a pinch hitter, I think it was a 1-1 tie, right? And he hits the top of the wall, and instead of bouncing over like it would do 99 times out of 100, it bounced back in. But again, that's September 20th. There were still 10 more days left in the season. I mean, this is the final day. Yes, they had a little bit of a margin for error because they'd have the game going on right now in Game 2 of the doubleheader. But, there were a lot of thrilling games, guys, but to be able to come back not once but twice and to eliminate or to make the playoffs against your rival, a team that you never seem to be able to beat. I'm sorry, that ball on the wall game, the Tom Seaver, the Al Leiter game, I'm a Met fan. Those are not today. Those aren't today, to me.
No complaints whatsoever. That was just tremendous. Really, really good. I don't know how you top that the rest of the week.
I may not be able.
Maybe you stop, give up.
We will see. Mets had a little bit of a thing going, but they got out of it, the Braves. So we go to bottom 5. Braves still with a 1-0 lead.
So the Mets, if you just got out of work, they clinched with a thrilling, exhilarating, scintillating Game 1 victory. Came back from 3-0, came back from 7-6, and they are in the playoffs. If they lose this game, they will be going to Milwaukee. If they win the game, they'll be going to San Diego. So that's what's at stake. And if they win the game and they go to San Diego, then Arizona will go to Milwaukee. And Arizona must feel so helpless right now, but it's their fault. I mean, they couldn't even score. They didn't even score on Saturday until the Padres broke out in the I guess it was the bottom of the 8th inning. I mean, they deserve not to make it. So, as we like to say, they have no kick coming because they didn't perform like they should perform. They didn't get the hitting, and if they don't make it, they can't sit there and blame the Mets for not beating the Braves. It's on them, man. They put themselves in this bad position.
Listen, they were 5-5 down the stretch. They took on a Padre team in their own building that didn't need the games.
Had nothing to play for.
And lost 2 out of 3. So, like you said, they don't have a kick coming. You feel bad for them. They probably feel helpless. Defending National League champions, rooting hard for the Braves to give them rooting hard for the Mets to come back and give them an opportunity to go in, but they can't blame anybody but themselves for this.
Now, I'm not sure how close you guys followed the Yankees yesterday, but the beginning of the game was delayed in an hour and 31 minutes. The weather was awful.
Yeah, terrible.
Then they started the game at about 4:35, something like that, and it was worse than it was in the hour and a half that they didn't play. Worse. And then we kept saying, why are they playing this game? Why are they playing this game? And you know what? They had reasons. Now, it wasn't up to the Yankees. Major League Baseball refused to allow them to call the game because you still had home field advantage in the World Series up against the Phillies, and the Phillies won that tie. And then you had home field advantage up against Milwaukee and San Diego if they get to the World Series. And since they lost, well, then the Yankees winning, that clinches home field advantage. So the Yankees would not have home field advantage against the Phillies, nor would they have home field advantage against the Dodgers. Now, one thing that people misunderstood yesterday, Milwaukee, if it had beaten the Mets yesterday, would have had home field. San Diego, if it had beaten Arizona, would have had home field advantage against the Yankees in the World Series. And people didn't understand, well, why would a division winner not have home field advantage against a wild card winner? And the reason is that once you get to home field advantage in the World Series, it's not about winning a division. It's about who has the better record. And the Yankees have the better record than the Padres.
Now, I know you got the Players Association and the Pirates, they want to go golfing. Their season's over. But wouldn't it have been better, Michael, to play that game today? Yankees don't have a game until Saturday. We knew that. Pirates' season is over. Why play in those conditions when they could have very easily played the game this afternoon?
I don't think they would have pushed that to keep the Pirates an extra day just for tiebreaker scenarios, because I don't think this doubleheader would have been played for tie-breaking scenarios. The commissioner would have come up with tiebreakers to actually figure it out. That you don't want teams playing on this day. This is supposed to be a blank day.
All right, but you know what? Why have players go out there and possibly get hurt in those conditions? All right, why would you want a major league game played? Why would you want fans to have to sit in that? I was outside for a lot of the day yesterday, too. It was just a miserable day. It wasn't pouring, but it was just one of those just raw, steady rain, just an awful day. I see what you're
not a sit in your filth kind of day.
But Peter, like you don't want to play on Monday. Well, I'm sorry. So you play on Monday. What, Pittsburgh has to stay an extra day, and the Yankees aren't playing until next Saturday. So what would have been the harm?
It actually would help the Yanks. It would have helped the Yanks. That would be one less layoff day. Let's go to Christian in North Caldwell.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
What's up?
Good. How are you?
Hey,
Chris.
Doing great after a Mets win.
For sure.
So I just want to say that the last week since they lost that first game to the Braves, I thought they were going to be the same old Mets. And then especially after this weekend, seeing how they played against Milwaukee. But today to have to, like you said, Don, slay the dragon and get into the playoffs and not have to do it on a second game was big. Carries that momentum. And Mike, did you say that if they win, that the Diamondbacks get in over the Braves?
If they win, then the Braves would be out and the Diamondbacks get in, yes.
So then I say, as Mets fans, let's get selfish and hope for this. It was satisfying getting in, but let's really slay the dragon and make sure the Braves don't get in. So I just wanted to say,
I don't think you're being unrealistic, Christian, because if you're a Met fan, you want to bury the Braves. You want to bury them. I mean, what's worse than getting swept and losing a game that the other team doesn't care if it wins and it impacts you and keeps you out of the playoffs? Of course, I don't think the Mets are acting that way, but Met fans should feel that way.
I asked the question earlier. If the Mets have a 3-2 lead in the bottom of the ninth inning, you're rooting for them to lose the game? No, you're going to want to see them win. Even if you'd rather face Milwaukee than San Diego and the long flight and all that, I find myself in this 1-0 game in the top of the sixth inning rooting for the Mets to come back and win. Because you want to see a team win. Go in with a little heat, right? Win a couple of games in a row. Knock the Braves out. Because, yeah, you slayed a dragon, but doesn't it hit a little different, Michael? You slayed a dragon, but that dragon still got in.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mets now are threatening first and third.
I think that as long as you do nothing to risk anything in the coming days, then you want to slay that.
No,
dragon.
I'm not saying bring in Diaz for a third consecutive day to get the save, or have Lindor, who's had off all day, since the home run, come in and pinch hit. But if they've got a chance to win this game, I'd like to see them win it.
I hear you. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.